Hey guys, welcome back to a modern magazine thing. And this week we're going to be looking at this Dungeons & Dragons Adventurer issue number 41. Now this one I've kind of been looking for ages. The last issue I covered was issue 37. And I've been regularly into the shop looking at that empty shelf where the magazine's supposed to be and never managing to gain a copy until this one. So somebody's been very lucky in between getting all of those issues. It's been, what, a month if they come out weekly? So it's taken me quite a while to get another one. But anyway, let's get on and have a look through Dungeons & Dragons Adventurer issue number 41. So, this is Dungeons & Dragons Adventurer issue number 41. Now get into the mag as usual. The gift this time is another tin of dice with the Dungeons & Dragons Adventurer logo on it. This time they're very dark ones, they're very purple. They're actually showing up a lot brighter on the camera than they are in real life. They're very dark purple. They're quite nice. They feel fairly light. This time they're not the ones with the Dungeons & Dragons ampersand on the 20. They're not sort of branded ones. But a fairly appealing set of dice, if a bit dark to read in reality, if the room's not that well lit. But a nice tin. Now, on the last video, somebody made a comment. They've been nice enough to go and look at all of the things which have been given away with the magazine up to that one, which was, what, issue 38? And among that had been 228 dice. So they're really loading in with the dice. Anyway, we're not really looking at those. Fairly nice, though. Issue 41 itself. So, new and exclusive adventure. Monk, Way of the Kensai. Monsters in the Maze, Minotaurs, Witchcraft, Beware a Hag's Coven. Tough choices, introduce moral quandaries. And again, there's some nice articles. I don't know if they're from the Dungeon Master's Guide or other source books. I've kind of been told that they're mentioned here where they're from, but I cannot see any mention of it. Anyway, we've got the first section, Moral Quandaries. So, introducing moral quandary forces players to make an outrageously tricky decision, whether it's to do with friends, honour or respect. And honour spelt the UK way. So, we've got the quandary, roll a d20. And then we've got a selection of different ones. Ally quandary. The adventurers have a better chance of achieving their goal with the help of two individuals whose expertise is all but essential. However, these two NPCs hate each other and refuse to work together. Friend. One or more of the characters cares about makes an impossible demand. A love interest might demand that they turn away from a dangerous quest, etc. Honour quandary, respect quandary, rescue quandary. Quite interesting things to introduce into an adventure. Then we continue with Combat Feats Part 3. So we've got Polearm Master here. Poisoner, Sentinel, Shield Master, just working our way through the feats. And then another really interesting section, Paladin Story Seeds. Give your Paladin added motivation by using optional tables to determine their ultimate goal and the symbol that embodies their core beliefs. So we've got what defines them, their personal goal, their symbol. And then we've got another page of Story Seeds Part 2 with character options. You know, what is their nemesis? What is their temptation? Pretty interesting stuff for fleshing out a Paladin character. Very nice. Monk, Way of the Kensei. These monks don't merely wield weapons, their weapons are an extension of themselves. So talking through the Way of the Kensei benefits, their agile parry, their Kensei's shot at higher levels, the inspirations, and role-playing one. And then we're on to the first of two monsters in this issue, which is nice. Usually they've just got the one. So, a lone hag is dangerous enough, but wait until you encounter a coven of them. Hag's triple threat, the Hag Eye, Coven spells. And the second monster is the Minotaur. Creatures feared for their strength and fury, Minotaurs hunt anyone unlucky enough to become lost in their labyrinths. Which, funnily enough, will become feature of the encounter, Lost in the Labyrinth. But anyway, it's natural mazes, outside the walls, playing as a Minotaur, and Minotaurs in combat. And then we've got the continuing Adventure 4, one of the encounters. So the players are heading down to retrieve a holy weapon from the tomb of Argosh, a long-dead dwarven king. They're in the forbidding area of the Underdark known as the Labyrinth. A cruel shadow demon ambushes them en route, preying on their sorrows to turn them against each other. Playtime 1 to 2 hours. And this is fairly nice. You could drop this in anywhere. It doesn't really matter what quest they're on. This is just an encounter on a journey through the Underdark. So we've got beginning the encounter, then an ambushed caravan they encounter, along with a note describing the way through the labyrinth. They go into the labyrinth, and it points out the labyrinth is incredibly large, and I'll show you the map of it in a second. Navigation is basically going between waypoints, though. So you're navigating your way through. You're not having to bother about which next left, which next right you're going to take. You are just going from part of the labyrinth to part of the labyrinth. You need to make a wisdom survival check. On a success, they pass successfully into their intended hex. On a failure, they accidentally backtrack, and they need to make a DC 12 Constitution or gain 1 level of exhaustion. Then we've got the visions that the shadow demons are bombarding them with. It details through them what saves you need to make to resist them, and then the shadow demon will attack. But we've got the keyed areas of the labyrinth. And we've got the labyrinth here, where you enter it. You'll be going to the bottomless stairs, the hall of doors, the heart, the outpost, the mines of madness, and then out. So these are the places you'll be encountered, but you've got to move through each hex first of all. Now, I don't know whether it's showing up on the camera with it as far away, but I'll move in. And you can just make out that each of the hexes actually has a tiny little maze on it, making up this massive maze. I think that's really nice. The idea of this being a absolutely humongous labyrinth. Each hex is 1 mile across. So 12 miles by 12 miles or something like that. Absolutely massive. Sorry, that's only 8. I have no idea how many that is. Probably 8 as well. But a humongous 8 miles of just going through twisty-turny labyrinth. It's absolutely humongous. But we've got the bottomless stairs, the hall of doors. The heart of the maze, a wide circular room, a ruined outpost where they might find treasures if they loot it. The mines of madness, and then on to the end of the encounter. And then we've got stat blocks for the shadow demon with its abilities, corporeal movement, shadow stealth, and its claw attack. And then the Minotaur stat block. We get the details of it earlier on, but now we've got the stats. Charge, labyrinthine recall. It can perfectly recall any path it has travelled. Reckless, great axe, and gore. Now, there's some quite nice stuff in there. I love the stuff about moral quandaries. I really like the stuff for paladin backgrounds. I wish it was more generic, that you could just put it across lots of characters, but I'm guessing this is going to be something that they're going to be fleshing out a number of issues with as they go through fighter, ranger, monk, wizard, etc, 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 through lots and lots of issues. And the encounter is pretty useful. Any underground area the players are going through, they encounter this massive labyrinth. There's shadow demons in it, there's minotaurs in it, there's stuff to fight, there's stuff they need to navigate and survive, or they'll get exhausted as they keep traipsing backwards and forwards through it, getting lost. Really, really good encounter. Pretty useful to any GM. And finally, the dice. Well, it's another set of dice. Do we really need this many dice? Over 200. The purple colour I quite like. Purple's one of my favourite colours. But they're dark and not that usable. They're not branded Dungeons & Dragons, so they're obviously a cheaper set, and they do feel quite light and cheap at that. So that was Dungeons & Dragons Adventure issue number 41. And there's a load of stuff in there I like, but it feels like the tone of the magazine has changed somewhat. Whereas the early issues were all based about introducing you to Dungeons & Dragons, and kind of based around the players. Introducing them to their characters, what feats they could get, leveling up, getting their first magical items and stuff like that. This really feels like it's more targeted towards the Dungeon Master. And as we know, as people who have played Dungeons & Dragons and role-playing games for many years, it's the Dungeon Master which really needs more support, because they're the ones who are having to come up with all the ideas. So, pages building up ideas for what you can put into encounters, the way you can set things up for different character classes and build upon them. And the fact that we've got 2 monsters and the encounter itself is a little more interesting than just a few rooms. It's a massive labyrinth, and they've built it with encounters within that labyrinth. It's really interesting, and building on that, giving advice to a slightly more advanced Dungeon Master. And that's something I really like. I could get totally behind that and be pretty interested in picking up issues. I know I keep going on, the $8.99 cover price is very, very high. But if you're going to provide me with good ideas and stuff which is going to help me in dungeon mastering, creating fun encounters for my players, and us all having more fun together, you've got my total support. I'll pay that cover price, even though you've handed out over 200 dice, and I'm starting to get a bit sick of that. If you could just provide the magazines with a little more content in them for round about the same price, I would totally support this magazine every month, or every week, or however it comes out. But anyway, as usual, I think I've been wittering on for quite long enough. So thank you very much for watching. But as always, most of all, you look after yourselves. I'll catch you later. Bye now.